Okay.
Good morning, Dan. Good morning, Dan Gutierrez.
Good morning, Mr. Keller. How are you today?
I'm doing good. It's good to be with you. Our first podcast of 2025. And as always, there's lots to talk about. To
Yeah, there
those who
is.
are here for the first time, I'd like to welcome you to this version of the Intentional Living Podcast. Dan Gutierrez, Marty Keller. We are colleagues and friends who have been doing the accountability practice work together for many, many years. We both facilitate accountability practice meetings along with our mentor, John Donovan, who is also from time to time shows up on these podcasts.
Mm.
In this podcast, we focus on looking toward the future. We use a quotation from Socrates, who said, "The secret of change is to focus all of your energy, not on fighting the old, but on building the new." And so the podcast here, we explore how to basically move our focus from the past to the future, knowing that we're here because of our past, and our past has a lot of not just psychological energy, but even neurophysical energy. And today we want to talk a little bit about that side of things, about the where do emotions come from? Because emotions are uh, they're the energizer of our lives. And here in the attention living practice, we go to the emotional body as the place to begin to create change. And you've seen many, if you've watched these podcasts, you've seen many different discussions of this. And Dan's got some new thoughts and new sources of information that he's going to share with us today. So, Dan, what have you been working on?
I've been one of the things is I've always been working on is trying to understand this concept of emotions and how they affect my present day state. Where do they come from? How are they created? And getting an understanding of if I can understand the mechanisms, how they're created, and maybe I can through that process um, create new emotions, new states of being, and change my reality, my future reality, or just change my reality one step at a time. So I've been um, doing watching some podcasts, some YouTube videos, and reading a book by books by Lisa Barrett or Lisa Feldman Barrett. So here's a I don't know if you can see that really well.
Yeah. How Emotions Are Made, The Secret Life of the Brain, Lisa Feldman Barrett.
She's a neuroscientist, and she's been doing this work. Her expertise has been the study of emotions or neuroscience, and so I got interested in because I watched one of her videos, and the thing that struck me is her research says that there's myths about what emotions are and how they're how they come about, and that misconception keeps a stereotype like emotions happen to us. We're not where they come from. I'm not going to go into a lot of that, but I'm just going to go into how it relates to the accountability practice.
Okay.
So she's her uh, her um, her research and what she discovered is emotions are created by the mind. The brain is there's misconceptions about why the brain has evolved to be what it is. And one of the misconceptions is the job of the brain is not to do the thinking. The job of the brain is to regulate the body. That's its number one primary function. And why do we have complex brains? Because we have very complex bodies. We need to have processing power to regulate our organs. Our organs send us signals about the state of the organism, and our brain adjusts and regulates those things like temperature, blood pressure, heart rate, liver function, digestion, muscular control, all these things. Um, I have no number to speak about, but it's a huge amount of processing that's going on to maintain the organism in a healthy state. So that's why we have a large brain. We need that processing power to do it. So emotions come about. Our brain is how it sees its job is to predict based on the past. Its function is to predict the future, to keep ourselves safe, to create the environment for the body to function in the present moment based on its prior past. Okay, so that's very important. So the brain uses the past memories and experiences to predict what to do in the future based on the current stimulus that it's experiencing through its senses, its vision, its hearing, its taste, its touch, and it's making a prediction about what it's seeing. It's comparing what's happened in the past to new sensory input information, and it's predicting what's happening. Okay. So for me, when I heard that explanation, I go, that's the good news. If that's how my brain functions, and that's how my brain creates emotions, what I need to do is what I have active access to is changing the experiences that my brain uses to predict what it's seeing and feeling. I'm not stuck in the past. By having new experiences, I change that pool of information that my brain draws on to predict what it's experiencing. That's the great news. That's what we do with the accountability practice. We experience the old, feel the feelings, own our truth, feel the feelings, and then based on what we're feeling, we allow the wisdom to come through and influence the intention. When I create the intention, I'm changing my future experience. I'm literally creating my future experience because I'm asking for what I want. And when I have a new future experience manifest based on my intentional intention, I am creating my future experiences. So therefore, I am changing the information that my brain is experiencing or is drawing on to give me a prediction of my present moment. I don't know if
Wow.
that's pretty convoluted, or I don't know how it is, but the process is what we do in accountability practice is that we change John's term, the subconscious pool of information. And Einstein said it, I cannot create, or what is it? I cannot change.
Cannot solve a problem using the information that created the problem in the first place. Something like that.
Yes, exactly. So all I need to do for my brain to make different predictions is I have to expand the pool of information that it's using to make those predictions from. So if I want to change my trauma, my past, what I do is I create the world that I want my brain to have based to predict the new experiences from. That's the access that I have, the conscious access. That's how I can influence my brain's prediction. And if I change those predictions, I change the emotions. Emotions are done based on my brain using old past information to predict how I'm going to feel or have an experience in the present moment. I had that the other day. I walked around the corner and I kicked the side of the wall with my toe. And before the pain reached me, I'm yelling, "Oh shit, ouch." And the pain hadn't got there yet. My brain is predicting what's going to happen because I've kicked the wall so many times. It's predicting what I'm going to be feeling. And it hasn't even happened yet.
And it's doing it automatically.
It's doing it automatically so quick that if I hadn't been aware of going, what am, I'm literally going, what am I saying ouch for? And then all of a sudden, ouch, the pain got there. And I go, oh, okay. And this just rolled in there. And it's just like my brain predicted that I was going to feel that pain based on what it experienced. And it was not in my consciousness.
It wasn't,
And
yeah, it wasn't in your aware consciousness,
exactly. And
but
I'm going, oh,
it was down there in your subconsciousness in this brain pattern chemistry thing you've been talking about.
yes. And it's just like, wow, there's an example of this. My brain predicted that that was going to hurt based on all the information comparing to the past. This is what's going to happen when you kick you stub your toe on the wall. And it hadn't happened. And I'm going, this is crazy. This is an example of what she explains in the book and in her videos. My brain is predicting what's going to happen. And I think that that's reality. And that's not the truth. But I have to have this understanding that that's what my brain is doing. That's its job to do that. So, how do I influence the prediction? I have new experiences by creating different intentions. By creating different intentions, I have new experiences. I intentionally set those intentions. Is it affect? Yeah, I have an effect on my future by setting these intentions because that's the future I want to have. And when I have those experiences, my brain now draws on those experiences as well as the past ones. So the new experiences that I want to have now influences my brain's prediction model or prediction process.
So let me ask you a question.
Sure.
So basically, what I'm hearing you say is you're talking about that the human brain, and probably all mammalian, maybe all animal brains, are these incredibly complex and powerful processors. The brain is processing, I don't know how many billions of bits of information a second, and most of it's happening outside of our conscious awareness. So right
Absolutely.
now, you and I and everybody watching this, our brains are regulating our bodies. They're keeping the temperature where it needs to be. They're monitoring the digestion of food and the distribution of the energy from the food to the rest of the body, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Um, so the question I have is, based on what I heard you say, is that the brain is always processing inputs that are coming to us from two directions. Number one, external, lights falling on our heads, the temperature, we hear sounds, all that kind of stuff. So the brain is processing that stuff. But I'm hearing you also say the brain's processing internal stimuli. And some of those stimuli are these patterned, repetitive kinds of things that we've become accustomed to, and the brain is adjusted to and expects expectation. But I'm also hearing you say that there's a possibility that we have an internal input that we might call intuition or something that's not in the pattern, that's not because we have the power, as you said, that we have the power to make changes willfully. And I'm assuming that we're making changes without will, based on the fact that inputs are coming in all the time, and the brain is doing this processing, and it's figuring out, again, way below our conscious awareness, that this activity is going on, and that the difference here in intentional living, and probably other processes, is that we have the power to make a conscious intervention into that energetic processing that's going on 24/7, and then consciously shift the pattern. And when we shift the pattern, and we get to experiment with this, when we shift the pattern and the experiment becomes, quote, successful, that is, let's say I intend to feel peace when I stub my toe, that I'm still going to have pain. I don't know that I can reprogram my brain. Maybe I could, but reprogram it to not have an ouch experience. But I can certainly reprogram my response to that ouch experience. So, for example, just to put a fine point on it, as you know, I have a similar thing, and when I do anything that causes me pain, stub my toe, trip over something, I have an immediate response. I have a response so quick that the word immediate doesn't cover it. And it immediately says, "You clumsy oaf, what the hell's wrong with you?" And when I started to become aware that I was having that response, and that response then doubled the adrenaline response. I already have an adrenaline response from hurting myself. But now I go, "You fool, you stupid little kid, you shouldn't do this." Then there's another squirt, theoretically, something else, I'm adding to
Yeah,
it.
I support you in that.
Okay. And so now, once I became aware of that, I could create an intention to change my response. And so first of all, I gave myself permission to be clumsy. I gave myself permission to not be able to control my body as well as I would like. And then I said, I intend to feel peace. Now, I've worked at this a long time, so this is not a one and done, at least in my
Right.
experience. But now when I stub my toe, I have ouch and I have laughter. It's like that's I think that's evidence of what you're talking about, of what this process can give us.
Yeah, it is like that. It's for me, every time when I create an intention, I have this pool of information. My analogy is I have a can of white paint.
Okay.
Okay. And every time I create an intention for what it is that I want in my life, I'm literally dropping a drop of red paint into that container of white paint. Over time, those drops of red will eventually change the chemical chemistry of that paint to become pink. And that's what we do through with intentional living. We change the subconscious pool of information that my brain predicts on, use it to predict my present moment based on my past. So now I'm creating a new record of a past by creating new experiences. The experiences become the reference that my brain goes back to. So when as the brain does, circuits that get fired and wired together maintain. They become the default setting. They become the reference, the pool of information, the library which my brain goes to predict.
So you're
And
basically so you're basically saying that every time there's a new drop of paint in the paint, the brain basically creates a new frame of reference. So
yes,
potentially the brain is always re-referencing itself.
right. So when I start the new intention, the new focus in my in the brain, the new outcomes, and having new experiences, what happens is those current experiences that fire and wire together, those become the dominant, those become the default experiences where my brain goes to create the predictions.
Right.
So if I come from the old past that I'm no good, I'm worthy, I can't. That every time the brain goes to see a new experience, it draws on that. So based on what it draws, it predicts what I'm going to do in the future or in the present moment. So it's a complete circuit.
Right.
Nothing changes because nothing gets added. So the intentional living process, the accountability tree, breaks that cycle and inserts a conscious intention. This is what's happening. What is it that I want? Feel those, feel the feelings. I'm a loser. This is what I hold on myself. I'm a loser. Okay, it's my truth. Take a deep breath. What do I want? I intend to see myself as a hero of my life instead of the victim of my life. Okay. Our brains, as we know, with the reticular activating system and intentionality, I've got a new focus, asking the universe to show me evidence that I am the hero of my life. When that evidence shows up, it now becomes a reference material for my brain to make predictions. The more that I have different experiences, positive experiences that support what I want, my brain will reference those because I'm consciously and actively uh, focusing on the same thing instead of the old I'm a loser, I'm a loser, I'm a loser. Now I've created new experiences that I'm a hero, I'm a hero, I'm a hero.
So are you saying that the that not only does that experience, that inner experience change as a perception, but it's also you're saying that the body chemistry changes to support that at the emotional level, right?
Absolutely. And the and as that changes and it becomes the dominant, or I don't want to say dominant, but it becomes the expression, the manifestation of my intentions. The brain goes back and sees I'm successful. I'm successful. So when I go to have a new challenge, rather than saying, "Oh, you're no good, you'll never do it," it'll look back and see that reference material that hey, you can have a positive outcome in this new experience. So that's how that I mean, that's very simplistic about what I'm saying. It's a lot more complex than that. But the whole purpose of that awareness for me is that I can actively change that pool of reference that my brain uses to create predictions and my emotions. Emotions are a prediction from my experiences in the past. It remembers those things. This happened, you felt this way. So this is what you're seeing is um, I have an issue with intimacy. So when my girlfriend smiles at me and wants to get close to me, I get activated. I go back to the past because that's how my brain works. And in the past, intimacy has been dangerous to me. So I see the connection, somebody's connection as dangerous, and then I act like it's dangerous.
And you have that instantaneous response, again, automatic, not it's not and it's at least when we first encounter it, it's not in our direct control.
Correct. And so what happens is nothing ever changes. I keep reinforcing the old experience over and over and over. And those are the circuits that fire and wire together, and then they get myelinated, so they happen quickly. Okay. That's the good news. So I have access to and manifesting new experiences, which in turn are like the drop of red paint into the bucket, into the white can of paint. Eventually, enough drops into that what red paint or white paint will change its color. I've added something new to the equation. It has to come out different than it was in the previous past. It has to. And then based on what shows up, I make adjustments. I create new intentions. This is working. I need to reinforce these things. I want more of this. Okay, this is not working. Create a new intention to adjust it. And all of this is happening, and my brain is working the way it's supposed to. I have new experiences based on what I decide and I want to manifest in my life, and my brain is going to use those experiences in a new way to create different predictions.
So it's interesting as you began to discuss this work that you've been reading, investigating Lisa Feldman Barrett and her work. You said that the brain's purpose, the brain is created as essentially a complex, sophisticated regulator of our physical health.
Mm-hmm.
But it sounds like it's simultaneously a sophisticated regulator of our emotional health, and that those two things are basically two ways of speaking about a single activity of human existence.
Well, the brain is, yes, the brain's job is to regulate my emotions, right? Or regulate my body. And I experience that whatever state that the body is in, I experience those as emotions. I can
Right.
either be elated, happy, sad, or depressed. My job becomes as the manifester is becomes how do I distinguish the difference with me feeling depressed as something that's outside of me, or there's actually something physically wrong with me and I'm experiencing depression. Depression is my brain telling my body telling my brain that there's I need to conserve resources. So depression, you lay around, you don't do much activity, right? That's conservation of resources. That's your brain's adapting to maybe there's something actually physically wrong with you, but there's also an adaptation if there's something going on mentally with you. Our job as the observer of all of this process is to be able to distinguish what's is it a physical problem that I need to go to attend to, or is it a psychological problem that I need to attend to?
Or maybe even a spiritual problem.
Or yeah, for lack of a better word, problem. An experience that that's giving me this experience. I'm not connected to myself. I'm isolated. We feel those as emotions, right? But my emotions, the ones I'm feeling, are based on what my mind has used as a reference from the past.
Right, exactly.
And it's I'm not living in the present moment if my mind is predicting with old information. We're always living in the past. The only way not to live in the past is to have that awareness about how my brain predicts and my emotions and my behaviors. So I create new experiences to allow my brain to go, these are the experiences to make the predictions from. And if it
To
starts doing that, my life changes because I will
right.
see, like, I used to, think that pain was a bad thing. Emotional pain, I didn't like it. It was uncomfortable. But over time, I've changed the prediction. Now, when I feel this pain in my body, I move toward it instead of away from it because I know pain is not, in my mind, I've converted pain into healing.
Well, and you've made a conscious choice or intention to do that.
Yes. I mean, I'm just relating these examples because that's exactly what she says in her book. I have a new experience. So my brain predicts that what I'm experiencing, you move toward it because that's where you want to go. That's where the resolution is instead of away from it. And it's like, wow, that's brilliant.
Well, that coheres with one of John's five uh, what is it you call them?
Constants.
Five, thank you. Five constants of relationship move toward the pain.
Exactly. So I have a new experience because I'm moving toward the pain, which in turn changes my brain's prediction. Pain is not what I thought it was because in the past, pain was something to avoid.
Then
Now,
the brain changes the chemistry, the internal feeling state to reinforce that new outlook rather than the old one, which would have put me back in depression or fear or anxiety, whatever it was that was manifesting.
yeah, that's the what I gleaned from her books and their videos that we do have I call it the intervening variable, which is my intentionality, my consciousness. By using the accountability tree, intentional living, I am intentionally creating my future so I can have a different experience based on my how my brain works.
And so what you're
And
basically saying is that we have a brain and body system that will support us doing that.
and it's always been that way. It's just that
Right.
when we started out, we were given information that was
Well, we couldn't
I don't
as
even
little
want to blame it.
well, no, but as little kids, we just didn't have the analytics that we do have as adults.
Well, not even that. It's that we were given this information by people who didn't know this either.
Right. Right.
So, and the beauty of all this is answering the question. You don't and for reference here, I don't want to sound I don't know what I'm going to sound like. You don't need to know any of this to make it happen.
Right. Yeah. We're just sharing the experience that's going on, but you're right. All I need to do is feel what I'm feeling and say what I want.
Exactly. And all this mechanism that we're talking about right now is going to act and work and create your new reality. Like I said, we don't need to know it. But the thing is, which is real important, is a lot of people want the answers before having the experience. And having the experience is what changes the history. And if the history changes, then your mind changes what it uses to predict the future on. Your emotions change. So the you know to focus on actually doing the process, you don't need to understand it. When you
Right.
have the experience, that's the important part of is having the experience, the manifesting of your intentionality. That's what gets all this working. That becomes the new piece of information that changes the subconscious pool of information that in turn creates a new outcome in your future or actually in your present.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Well,
With
we come to the end of our time together, and I want to just let everybody know that what Dan just said there is about experience, and we facilitate 4 meetings a week where we do this experiential work in a group setting. It's all on Zoom, and if you're interested in learning how to do this and having this experience yourself, we invite you to join other people who are doing this work, learning how to access the inner workings of the emotional body as a doorway to creating something that works for us. As we say in the beginning, we focus, as Socrates says, not on fighting the old, but on building the new. And this is the process that Dan and I have both learned works for us, and we're happy to share it with others. So if you'd like to join us in any of the meetings that we have. The information will be at the end of the podcast. They're all on Zoom, as I said, and there are 4 different days a week and different hours. So feel free to check it out and come and join us. And before we wrap up, Dan, would you hold the book up again so everybody can take a look at the how emotions are made, the secret life of the brain. And so if you find this interesting, please feel free to go check that out for yourself. Both the book and Dan says that you go to YouTube and do a search for Lisa Feldman Barrett and maybe see some her talk. So before we wrap this up, any last minute or any last thoughts to bring us to the conclusion?
Um, I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become. Sigmund Freud, or no, Carl Jung.
I agree with that one. Can't say fairer than that. And what a great guy to end our podcast with. So, thanks a lot, Dan. Appreciate that. Appreciate your thoughts, and look forward to the next time.
All right, glad to be here. Thanks,
All
Marty.
right, take care.